There are two wars being waged against Israel right now, and Gaza isn't one of them. In fact, in the second war, Israel is losing badly. What am I talking about? Let's begin. You're hearing a lot in the news about Gaza. They call it a Gaza war. But Gaza is just one front in a much larger conflict. The first and most obvious war is against Iran. To understand this, let me say something crazy, something you probably never considered. If I were to ask you, who is responsible for killing the most Arabs in the Middle East over the last few decades, say the last 50 years, you would probably say Israel, right? But that's completely wrong. The ones responsible for at least 10 times more Arab deaths are the Iranians. Yes, Iranians. They are Muslims, but not Arabs. And unlike the majority of Arabs who are Sunni, the Iranians are Shiites. Now, maybe Shiites and Sunni doesn't mean much to you, and I won't go into details here. But think of Europe 400 years ago when Catholics and Protestants were slaughtering each other nonstop. That's basically what is happening in the Muslim world today. Where have Iranians killed nearly 1 million Arabs in recent decades? Mostly in three countries: Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. If this surprises you, it's not your fault. The first rule of the Middle East is if a Muslim kills a Muslim and you can't blame Israel, no one cares. Which brings me to the second rule of the Middle East. If a Muslim kills some Muslims and you can't blame Israel, even Muslims themselves don't care. How many Muslim protests were held in London, Amsterdam, or Wisconsin against Iran in the last few decades? How many articles have you seen in the news about Iranians killing Arabs? How many courses in universities are there about Sunnis versus Shiites? About zero. How many were held against Israel? 1 million. I'm telling you this because all you hear about is Gaza. But to Iran, Gaza is just a city full of Sunni Arabs. Iran sends them weapons, never humanitarian aid. Iran uses them. Gaza is one playground. Hezbollah in Lebanon is another front. Syria is a third. Why did the Assad regime fail in December 2024? There was a brutal war there for 10 years. So what happened in December? What kept Assad in power was Hezbollah, a Shiite militant backed by Iran. For years, Hezbollah crushed the Sunni majority in Syria. But in December 24, Israel eliminated Hezbollah's command structure. The Sunni majority seized the opportunity, overthrew Assad, and expelled Iranian forces. Let's keep going. Iran also operates Shiite militias in Iraq and Yemen. Iran openly seeks the destruction of Israel. They say it. And personally, as a YouTuber and a low-ranking Mossad agent, I believe it is only a matter of time before Israel strikes inside Iran. I believe the Iranians when they say they will do everything they can to destroy Israel. I believe them for three reasons. I respect people enough to take them at their word. Like I said, they've killed nearly 1 million Arabs in recent decades. So what do you think they will do to us, the Jews? And most importantly, I see what the Iranian regime does to its own people. They beat women in the streets for showing a bit of hair. I have no doubt they would do far worse to us. And here is a tip. Don't judge people by what they say. Judge them by how they act in their own homes. So the first war is a military campaign against Iran, an enemy that openly states it wants to eliminate us. In a weird way, I even respect that. As someone trying to explain the situation to outsiders, it actually makes things simple. Iran is a country 1,000 kilometers from Israel, yet its government, the Islamic Republic, is working openly and aggressively to destroy us. Now, the second war. This one is much more sophisticated, and it is the war that Qatar is waging against Israel. In this war, Israel is losing, and badly. Why? Because Israel doesn't even realize it's in a war. I only understood this last year. I kept asking myself, how is it possible that on October 8th, students in the US were already protesting against Israel and in favor of Hamas? How can American students support radical Muslims who don't even let women leave the house without a man's permission? How can students who have so many pronouns have so little knowledge? How do they not know that in Gaza there is a test for gay men? It is called Can Gay Male Fly? They throw you off a tall building. If you land safely, you can fly. If you don't, well, spoiler alert, 100% of gay people can't fly, you die. Now, I don't blame the students. They are 20 years old. There is a massive propaganda machine that has poisoned them against the West and Israel. That machine is Qatar. Qatar is running a campaign of soft power. With its billions, it buys influence. Their shopping list is massive. Sports events and teams like the World Cup and Paris Saint-Germain, financial institutions like Deutsche Bank, a stake in Heathrow Airport, and the list goes on and on. But peel away the PR, and what is Qatar really? An extreme Muslim state, a state that supports the Muslim Brotherhood, a global Islamic movement whose goal is to spread Islam worldwide and make Sharia law the global law. Qatar is the Taliban with money. There is a myth in the West that if people are given comfort, money, healthcare, and education, they will naturally embrace democracy and human rights. Qatar is the proof that this idea is pure Western wishful thinking. Qatar is not democratic. It has no women's rights, no gay rights, and worse, it actively works against Western values. A key part of its soft power strategy is a soft war against Israel. And Israel doesn't get it. Let's jump to the end. Two recent examples. A political scandal in Israel, allegedly involving globalists founded by Qatar, who reached all the way to the Prime Minister's office. Trump recently visited to Qatar. What did he get? A plane and a hostage. Qatar told Hamas to release a hostage, Idan Alexander, as a gift to Trump. How does that make sense? Qatar is the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Muslim Brotherhood is Hamas. But everything I just said, that's the end game. This is a strategic war that Qatar started over 20 years ago. Qatar's war on Israel rests on two pillars, education and media. Qatar built with patience and deep pockets a massive media empire, Al Jazeera and Al Jazeera Plus. Every headline on Al Jazeera, and I've said it many times, is always against Israel. Unlike Iran, who declares its hatred openly, the Qataris operate on emotions. They show the suffering of the Palestinians. You will not see the suffering of children in Syria or Yemen. You will never see criticism of human rights violation in Muslim countries on Al Jazeera. By the way, those who are anti-Israel are anti-West. It was true with the Nazis, true with the Soviet Union, and true with the Islamists. You won't see the Union Jack at a pro-Palestinian demonstration in London. You will not see the tricolor at an anti-Israel rally in Paris. And you will not see the US flag at anti-Israel protests in Wisconsin. On Al Jazeera Plus, the only political videos you will see are anti-Israel or ones highlighting political and racial problems in the US. They do it so systematically and for so long that eventually young Americans come to believe that the US is racist and that Israel is committing genocide. They use free speech and a lot of money to attack the West from within. And as always, the first target is Israel. The second pillar is education. In the last 20 years, Qatar has poured $5 billion into universities in the US to promote its agenda. It is not only higher education. Qatar has sponsored anti-Israel programs in US schools. Why send tanks and soldiers if you can turn the people of your enemy against the founding values upon which their country was built? And if Israel doesn't get it, why should the rest of the Western world? Qatar is not a mediator between Israel and Hamas. Qatar is an enemy. Qatar is Hamas's landlords. Without Qatar, Hamas wouldn't be able to survive financially, militarily, and most importantly, not without the support of parts of the West that Qatar has been poisoning for the past 2 decades. I truly hope Israel wakes up, because this war poses the greatest long-term threat to the country. My next videos will be about debunking an American professor who doesn't know much about Israel, and another video about visiting the Temple Mount. Please subscribe so you won't miss my next videos. I want to thank my supporters. Thanks to you, I've been able to upload more videos in the last 2 weeks. See you next week. Yalla bye.